Hey friends, welcome back to Homestead in a Box. My name is Leah and I'm super thankful to have you here today. This is probably like at this point the 5th time I've tried recording this intro because clucking hens are a thing around here today. We've got rain. If you follow us on social media, you know I am so thankful. It rained last night and it rained good. I have not even went and checked the rain gauge. I don't know why I haven't done that yet, but anyway, in the hens this morning, they are loud and proud. But anyway, I hope you all are doing well. In today's video, I'm going to be planting my fall garden. It was shady. It's been shady the last couple days. I'm super thankful for just the cool off in general. And I'm going to take advantage of that today, and I'm going to be tearing out some tomato plants, which I kind of have mixed feelings about, and replacing them with some winter squashes. And I figure I'd take you along with me and maybe perhaps convince you to grow a cucumber plant or something. So come with me, let's go amend some soil and plant some new seeds. So I need to stir this. It got rained in last night, but anyway, this is some compost tea that I'm going to be amending some feed bags with today before we put some seeds in them, and probably where I'm going to put some squashes. Squashes are pretty heavy feeders, so they're going to need some good compost for that. Real quick, if you have been following along for a minute, you know that I planted some squash and some green beans in the green stalk, and just an update on that video that the squash and the green beans are doing good. I have ants so bad. I have ants outside. I've always had ants outside, like fire ants. And we've got the granule things and they just don't really work, but anyway, I've got ants really bad, and so I've been coming out and trying to get the ants out of them every single day because ants house and help carry aphids, really. And I'm not trying to deal with that. So I have been out here, but I will say that so far, it's probably been in here for, I don't know, like maybe 3 weeks. I'd have to go back and look at the date, but it is doing good. So far, so good. All right, some real life here for you. This was my cucumber beds that, as you see, you can see where the chickens have made their little homes and spots. Oh, I'll cook that tonight. All right. So back to what I'm mainly doing today. I just love the garden and I just want to share it with you all. So as sad as it sounds, and it really does make my heart sad, but some tomato plants put off like 2 tomatoes and I'm pretty sure they're done. Some of my tomato plants put off quite a few tomatoes. Some of them, a lot of them are still green. My cherry tomatoes, I will say, did the best, and those are a lot of the ones that I'm leaving. But anyway, I do have to tear up some tomatoes, and I'm going to be planting winter squashes in these beds. And right now I have acorn squash and a butternut squash. I just ordered spaghetti squash to plant. And the tomatoes and squashes are heavy feeders, so tearing a tomato plant out and amending that soil, and I'm just going to amend it with some compost tea, plant the seed, mulch it a little extra, and then I'm going to actually vertically grow my squashes. I'm going to use these same cattle panels and trellis my squashes up the cattle panels. I will have to buy something to hold the melons, that way they don't get too heavy and fall off, but I'm willing to do that. Mainly to help with bugs. Like with the fall garden, you don't have as much pest pressure, but right now the pest pressure is high in Oklahoma, okay, where I'm at. It is real high here. So it does hurt my heart to tear some of the tomato plants out, but on another part of me, I'm okay with that because I'm just excited for new growth. So that's what we're gonna do. Okay, so some of my tomato plants just have no tomatoes. I've harvested something off of them. Some of them do have yellow flowers, but only a couple. And so to me, I'm just gonna take that tomato plant out and I'm gonna put a squash where each of these tomato plants are at, the ones I'm taking out. Some of them are doing okay, like I can pick this for in the house. Oop, this one. That one looks a little nasty, so, oh yeah, we'll give it to the chickens. So basically, I am just going to tear this plant out of the ground. However, I'll put this, there's nothing wrong with this plant. And really it's both of them, so I just harvested that. All right, so I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna get all the tomatoes out that I need to get out. Like I said, it is super bittersweet, but it is necessary. I've got ants, and so I'm trying to figure out something to help me with ants. Ants carry aphids, I mentioned that already, and aphids in the garden are really not that good of a thing. Not good at all, actually. So I've combated some of them with cinnamon. I have used cinnamon before. But it seems like it just moves them, you know, it's not really getting rid of them, and I need to get rid of them. I'm tired of coexisting with them. So I'm going to finish ripping out this row of tomatoes, and then we are going to get some squash planted. All right, so I took those out, and honestly, these couple tomato plants here, I'm leaving. I'm actually just going to trellis them up a little better because they still have all the way up. They still have tomatoes coming on. And this is called Chadwick Cherry tomato plant, and I got this from Baker Creek Seeds, and I will probably forever grow these. Look how big these are. They're huge for a cherry tomato. I mean, really big. That one's got a split on it, but anyway, so I am going to leave like this whole 3 plants here. And then somehow I got a slicer plant in here, but it's super tiny, so I am going to be taking that one out. And some of these other ones, like look at this one. I'm going to keep this one. Although I will say, not a huge fan of this tomato. It's the blueberries and cream tomato from Baker Creek Seeds, and very bland, not a very flavorful tomato. All right, I had to go get some reinforcements. I had to go put my boots on because the ants are so bad and they're tearing me up. So now that I have those pulled out, I just have them in a pile over here. I'm gonna let them sit in this pile for a minute because there's, like I said, there's no diseased plants or anything like that in there. And maybe the birds will eat out of that pile instead of eating off of the trellises. Now I'm going to take my yard butler. This thing has come in handy. If there was one thing would just really wish, as I wish that the handle was longer, because I'm 5'9" and I'm constantly bending over. Just kind of tilling the ground a little bit. I wouldn't even really call it tilling, I just call it kind of disturbing the ground where the roots and stuff were, kind of tear up the roots that were already there to prepare it to put the new seeds. Look at this big juicy fella eating away at my tomato plants. Look, got one in his mouth as we speak. I mean, come on. This is what they call a tomato hornworm, and they will eat up a tomato plant real quick. Glad I found him because this is a tomato plant I'm leaving in the ground. I got all the rest of the tomatoes. I ended up taking out more tomatoes than I had originally planned. However, I'm okay with that because I'm making room for winter squashes. And the difference between a winter squash and a summer squash is it's not when you plant them, it's how you store them. Winter squashes can actually be grown and then stored for 2 to 4 months under the correct environment. So like these winter squashes, I'm planting an acorn squash, a butternut squash, and a spaghetti squash. I'm planting quite, not a lot, but quite a few. It is just my husband and I, so we don't need a whole lot. However, to have some stored up just through the winter, to have some butternut soup or just spaghetti squash, something like that, not have to go to the grocery store and to buy them is exciting to me. Not fear-mongering by any means, but it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that there are food shortages coming, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know. And it's not a conspiracy theorist thing, it's not a fear thing, it's not anything like that. It's just having an open mind and reading headlines, and I'm aware that some news is fake news, most news is fake news, you know, but anyway, everyone's saying it. And so even if food shortages don't come, which I hope that they don't, but if they do, then I will have a couple extra squash put up. That way I have squash. I have 112 days until my first estimated frost date. I actually have more days than that than last year's first frost. But estimated, I have 112 days until my first frost date. So all of these winter squashes will die with the first frost. They are not frost hardy. They are just, you're able to store them over winter versus a zucchini or a crooked yellow crooked neck squash. The lifespan on them is about 2 to 4 weeks versus 2 to 4 months with the winter squash. So I'm fixing to take this compost tea that I had and pour them down in the mounds that I have. I've kind of created mounds or squashes. I'm going to be growing them upwards. And so I've turned the soil, aerated it. Now I'm going to be pouring some compost tea on it, and then I'm going to be planting the seeds in it. Going to be planting some butternut squash and some winter early acorn squash. My spaghetti squash I ordered, I ordered them from Amazon, but I know the seed company that I ordered from. It's this one right here, this Seeds of Exchange Organic Seed Company. I buy these seeds. You can buy these at like bigger box stores, Atwoods, places like that. And I've had really good luck with the germination rate on this particular seed. Yeah, but if you, like right now, all of the seeds are disappearing because it's not, it's kind of foreign to grow food in the fall and into the winter for a lot of people. It's just that they really just commercialize the big spring and summer garden. And so you're going to start seeing a lot of the seeds disappearing. But I did order some spaghetti squash on Amazon, but it is this from this company. I also ordered some seed potatoes, excuse me. I ordered some seed potatoes because those have been impossible to find, even on Atwoods, Tractor Supply, anywhere, even online. It was pretty impossible. So I was able to get on Amazon and hunt under small businesses. And there was a place, I believe they're coming from Minnesota, that I was able to get some seed potatoes, thankfully. So we're gonna see how those work out. I've always tried to steer clear of ordering seeds off of Amazon because you just don't know what you're gonna get. However, with a little bit of research and time put into it, I do believe, fingers crossed, that you can have some pretty good luck. So these are the two squashes that I'm going to be planting today, along with my pumpkins, but I'm putting my pumpkins in my fabric pots. Okay, so it's been raining here, and I just poured the fertilizer on it. So I'm just going to take 2 seeds and drop down into this hole and cover the hole back up. Over here, I'm going to do the same thing. 2 seeds. Cover it back up. And then I'm gonna go in and I have some nasturtiums. So I'm gonna plant another round of nasturtiums between these. They work as a great companion plant for insects and things like that. The insects will eat the nasturtiums. This is my basil. I keep cutting back the flowers, but it keeps flowering. So I have lots of basil that I'm gonna be dehydrating really soon. So it looks pretty bare pickings out here now. I came out the other day and got some good pictures of it, but because I knew I was going to be tearing it out. Looks really bare. Okay, so that is what I'm going to wrap up, finish doing today. Thank you all so much for coming, hanging out with me. I am so grateful for each and every one of you for just walking alongside me on this journey of mine. I'm here for it. I'm a first timer. I want to share the good, the bad, the ugly with all of you. I mentioned in a post the other day on social media that you don't have to be a gardening guru to garden. You know, I just read a lot of books, and honestly, it's a lot of trial and error. So if you start now, like if you're sitting there and you're thinking, oh, I can't do it. I have a black thumb. Like there's just no way I can do it. You know, you're not going to know unless you try. So put one seed in the ground. Maybe reach out to somebody that you know who has seeds, who has a garden. Just say, hey, do you happen to have a squash seed I could plant? Or even a cucumber. Right now you still have time to plant a cucumber. You have 112 days. I'm in Oklahoma, eastern Oklahoma, zone 7B, but I have 112 days till my first estimated frost date. As most of you who are watching this video in Oklahoma do, you have a good solid 100 days. You can grow some more cucumbers, tomatoes, peppers, squashes, zucchinis. I just did another round the other day of yellow squash. I found some seeds that I purchased last year and planted them. Plant some food. I know right now you feel like giving up because it's hot and we're being taken over by pests, and it's so hot the tomatoes aren't producing. It's not producing fruit. But it's cooling off. It's coming. I can feel it. I know it in my soul that it's coming. Just hold on. You know, I was just having a conversation with my best friend the other day, and we were talking about how most people have just given up on the garden already, you know. And she was so surprised how green and pretty mine was, and that's because I haven't given up on it. I've dedicated the time to it. I've dedicated to grow my food so I don't have to go to the grocery store and buy food. I don't go to the grocery store and buy food. Really, I go get cheese and almond milk and half for my coffee. You know, other than that, I've been eating out of my garden, and I know that I kind of have a bigger garden versus some people, but for as big as my garden is, I haven't really got a whole lot of harvest off of it because it really is trial and error. I have fought vine borers and squash bugs and things like that, you know, to where I just pulled the plant out. You know, I wasn't going to go inject things into the vine of my plants. I just pull it out and put a new one in its place because I know that I still have time. I have a long enough growing season. And so it really is all trial and error. So don't sit there and think that you can't do it, because you can do it. But you have to try. You have to be willing to try. You have to be willing to put some soil in a container and stick it outside and dedicate yourself to watering it every day. You know, it does come with responsibility. A lot of people, gardening, it's really not that easy. You know, it can be, but it's really not. It's a huge trial and error. And every year is going to be different than the year before because of the weather and the bugs. And I've watched people lose crops to blister beetles in Oklahoma like overnight. You know, I mean, so everyone's on this hunt for tomatoes for farmers markets around here, and there's just not any, you know, because the tomatoes that people are growing, they're keeping for themselves for their own home preservation. So plant a seed, whether it's a cucumber, a squash, or something. You're not ever gonna plant a pumpkin seed. Plant the pumpkins instead of going to a Walmart and buying pumpkins for your kids this year. Put a pumpkin seed in a 5-gallon pot, 10-gallon pot, put it in your ground and grow some pumpkins. Plant some sunflowers, grow some pumpkins. Thank you all so much for coming and hanging out and listening to me today. I am very grateful for each and every one of you for subscribing to this channel and supporting my dreams. Thank you so much. I'm sending you good vibes as always. Send some good vibes to somebody that you know, and I'll see you all next time.